Artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines.
Gradual introduction of artificial intelligence continues to cause great confusion.
AI systems may be more intelligent than we know, and there's a chance the machines could take over.
Tell me more about your journey in AI development.
When you first came to me with the idea, I was like, I don't know if I can do it.
Now, once you are in this candy store of possibilities, the next question becomes, what do you do?
I want to create things that can help people be in a better situation than they currently are.
We keep referring to this triple bot prompt pulse stuff that we're working on. What exactly is prompt pulse from the technical perspective? Episode 16, C.Cast. We've got the real Kabazela in the studio today. This isn't his first time engaging with us on the platform, which is dope because we have had some experience in the past where we've had Mpumelelo come on from a technical perspective and give us some insights around AI. So Mpumelelo, it's great to have you back.
Happy to be here, man. Thankful for you to invite me in person.
So I think what I'm really excited about for today is for people to get a little bit of more insight in terms of who Mpumi is. Okay. And I know with your journey, I was going through your LinkedIn and I saw that there was a lot of magic talk on your LinkedIn bio. And I wanted to find out more about your experience when it comes to tech and your early fascination with tech and the magic behind it. Like, tell us more about that.
So I feel when growing up, I feel we've all had that period where you have that one computer in the room where you just try to turn it on and it makes so much noise that when it's late at night, you just try to reduce the volume so your parents don't wake up and see you playing it late at night. So you kind of just try to find your ways around it. But it was starting from there, playing those games where I really found the love of just really using tech, computers and stuff like that. But obviously, as life went on and I grew, I became more interested in what you could create with the tech. You start seeing websites, you start seeing all these things going on, you start hearing about all these platforms. You're like, okay, I wonder how they made that. Obviously, in the moment, you think it's some wizardry. You think this person knows the whole world and he just pressed a few things and it happened. But as you learn more, you figure out that it's actually possible. So it kind of started from there, from small. And
yeah, I think the real magic comes from that thing called curiosity, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the times we consume different products, whether it be like a McDonald's burger or whether it be chocolates or whether it be software that we use online like social media or Facebook. And we see these things at face value and we don't necessarily know what goes on behind the scenes, right? So we have this perspective where it's an end product where maybe that chocolate tastes amazing or that drink tastes amazing, or you use a program that helps you solve a problem and it's like, it seems like magic to you. But then you go a little bit deeper, and that thing that kind of forces you to go deeper is curiosity, right? Because you start to question, like, why does this taste so good? Or how does this work? And that's, I think, is what is a secret ingredient when it comes to progression and learning and growing is curiosity. And for me, like, that's where I think the magic comes from. And I also got a little bit of experience in the tech space. So some people might not know this, but I studied BCom Information Systems and Economics. So we did a lot of back-end developments in that degree. And what I loved about that is, like, you touched a little bit about the different languages and the different methods and tools like that you can use to create these programs. 100%. And what I remember from back then is like how we would learn different tools and that we would put them in our toolbox, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, when you're coding, right, you're going to learn certain methods. You're going to learn what a variable is. You're going to learn all these different elements. And essentially what those are is they tools. And once you've got those tools in your toolbox, it kind of gives you the ability to start building new things, right? So I wanted to find out from you, Mpumi, like, when it comes to these tools, what are some of the things that you've been able to build using these tools that you've put in your toolbox?
For one, I think the curiosity of adding the tools to your toolbox, it creates something new, a confidence in the sense of you're not afraid to try something new and actually create something and figure it out. So in varsity, when I studied IT, there was there's a course, an e-commerce course where they asked us to create a website and actually create the website. You actually have to have products. You actually have to integrate payments and everything. At first, it seemed like a really big project. But when you actually start, okay, this is the first page, this is the second page, this is how you pay, you start getting this confidence of, if I could figure these out at first, I can figure the rest. And that kind of went into the first project I'd say I built. So a colleague of mine that lived in my area, he came to me with this app idea for an Uber for services in a sense. It was called Stuur Me, which means send me in Afrikaans. That's what he told me. It was great to work with you, Gilman. Shout out to you. And so when he first came to me with the idea, I was like, I don't know if I can do it because it was the first project. I wasn't really sure of what to do it entail. So it's like, you know what? No, it's fine. Just work on it. Let's see what happens. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll start to the first page. I don't know what's going on. I try to put on my phone. Does not work. I try again and again and again. And at a point, it started getting to a point of like, okay, this page goes to this page, goes to this page. Then at a point, it's like a fully blown app. It's working now. I start sending it to him. He can play around with it. He sends a request to me. It's like it actually starts working. And then it starts getting to a point where you trust yourself, and I trusted myself, which from then on I've used into all the future projects I've gone into. So, yeah.
Okay. And Gilman, is he the same Gilman from Valued?
Yes, he is.
Okay, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I would like to just focus on the importance of community. So Mpumi and I met through an online platform called Valued, which is actually a client of JD Creations. And we were working together because we were mainly handling the website development of the project. And then Mpumi came on for the app side, and then that's how we met. But I think what is important to focus on there is really the power of community, because since that, we have started working and partnering together on various different other projects that we're going to share more about. Just to kind of name drop them, just to give you a little bit of a taste, is you've probably seen some content that we've been putting out about Glebobot, which is an online business mentor that can be accessed through WhatsApp, and that is AI powered. So we were really excited to work on that, which has kind of given us some tools in our toolbox, which we're taking forward, and that we actually started implementing on a new project called Prompt Pulse. So we're going to share a little bit more about that as we go through the podcast. But none of that would have happened unless we had met, right?
Sure.
And that's what I think is so important about community, because essentially what it does is it takes people that have similar interests and puts them in the same space. And sometimes that's all you need, because what lands up happening is when you're in that same space, you start to get friction. You start to rub off on each other, you start to talk, you start to get to know one another, you start to work on different things and see what we're capable of doing. And from that friction, you start to get a spark. And then from a spark comes a flame. And then from a flame comes a fire, right? So that's what I've seen happen from the Valued community, but that's also what we're building with the creator community. And as we build this community, it starts to grow and grow and grow, and it's really awesome, because like right now we're sitting in a studio with two people that we've been engaged with that are behind the scenes now. We've got Thembi and Pearl in the back, and they also wouldn't have been a part of this if they weren't aware of the community that we were building. So all of the stuff that we're talking about now would only be possible with community. And I'm so excited to see where we can build this, and that's also why it's so important that we have this podcast today, because Mpumi and I just wanted to share some of the things that we're building so that we can invite anyone who's listening to this to be a part of that community, whether you be on the front end using the tools that we're creating, or whether you want to be on the back end helping build these tools. We're open to discussing how we can all work together. But Mpumi, I just wanted to check with you, like when it comes to these different tools and these projects that we're all talking about, it's all good and well, but I wanted to find out a little bit more about your history. Like you mentioned that you started off in like at home, you had that curiosity working on computers, and then you went to study it in varsity. Now take me from varsity. What happens after varsity?
Okay, so in the last year, you know, when you're about to finish, you're kind of concerned about student loans and how you're gonna pay it off, and you're worried about work and everything. There was actually an email that I received where there was a bursary being offered, and they're like, hey, please apply. And I applied, not knowing if I'd get it or not, but I was hoping, because that debt. When you're in your last year, you're thinking, yo, how am I going to pay this off? I don't know what I'm going to do. And so it was a bursary offered by another company called Agility, which it was basically a bursary, but with an internship as well, if you get it. So I got it. And then luckily enough, they were like, okay, cool. You'll work with us for a year. And then if we feel that the relationship is still fruitful and you can go further, then we'll keep you on full time. So I went there, they paid, and I went there for the year. I learned a lot in their industry and how they do certain things. And at the end of the year, they decided to keep me, and that's what I've been since. So they kind of helped me get my footing in the career sense, but also in terms of giving me the freedom to kind of learn different things. It kind of creates an environment where if you're interested, you can try and ask about certain things. You're not restricted to a certain aspect. You're free to ask people an email or whatever. So that freedom kind of translates into the rest of the stuff I do outside of work, and always having that curiosity of, hey, how do they make this? How do they do that? And never really being afraid to try new things.
For sure.
Yeah.
Favorite project that you've worked on and why?
Yo, why are you putting me on the spot like that? Wow, I really can't say. The only reason why is because with each and every project, there's always a lesson or something I learn along the way. So I really don't have a favorite per se, but I would just say the most important so far would be Steer Me for one, because it gave me the confidence to really start creating something and get it out there. Even if it has bugs, even if it might not work per se, it gave me that confidence of like, you know what, just get it out there. If it sucks, it sucks. If it does well, it does well. And then that translated to the Evaluate app, that translated to Prompt Pulse and Billboard. So I would say it's the most important and the most dear, but I wouldn't say it's my most favorite in a sense.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. So it taught you that important lesson of, I like to refer to that as building the plane while flying it.
Yep.
I have a friend that posted something on LinkedIn, shout out to Mpumelelo Mkhize, and he was saying that he prefers people who do rather than people who talk.
Oh, for sure.
And I think there's so much power in that, because once you start doing something, it changes your interaction with whatever it is completely.
100%.
You might sit there and spend like 6 months planning to work on a project, and you create this detailed step-by-step approach on how you're going to do everything, and everything is planned to the T. And then what you find is you start
and it does not.
And you do the first step. And then you realize something that you didn't think about when you planned it, and now your entire plan has to change. And now you've just
100%.
spent 6 months planning this thing, and now your plan's changing.
Yep.
So that thing, I think that's such an important lesson to take forward when it comes to entrepreneurship or even development in the tech space. Is you gotta start shipping, right? And that's something that I also see in the tech space is like, you gotta start shipping. Like I was talking about planes, now you're talking about ships. But shipping is so important, because once you put it out there into the world, you start to get feedback from the world, and then it helps guide you and helps make it better and improve. 100%. So I think maybe you could tell me a little bit more about like your journey when it comes to coding and working on AI, right? Because right now AI is the buzz. Everyone's talking about it. A lot of people can see the opportunity in that space. So tell me more about your journey in AI development specifically.
Okay. So I feel my journey into that kind of started with a lot of other people, in terms of when the buzz about models and what you can do with them and AI platforms, you kind of started getting interested, not in terms of what it can do, but more in terms of how you can make it, or what they use to create certain platforms, so that you can kind of twist it into your own way, kind of tweak it, give it your own spice. So you just see all these platforms, they're like, oh, okay, that's ChatGPT. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you ask yourself these questions. I wonder if I did this. And then you start going down this rabbit hole of, okay, they did that using this. Okay, cool. I wonder if I start using this language, if I twist it like this, what I could make. And then the moment as a software developer or as a person in general, you start wondering, I wonder how I can do it, or what I can do with it. Then you start kind of adding your own spice to things. And that's when you start getting really creative and enjoying the process. And with me, when ChatGPT started coming out, I'm like, okay, cool. okay, this is how it works. Then I'm like, okay, I wonder if I can use it for something for myself, or how I can use it. Then you start tweaking, playing around, and then I started doing the same, and then we started having conversations with Tabiso, and we're like, okay, what can we do with AI? Then we're like, okay, cool, let's use it for WhatsApp chatbot, for instance, bot. Then I'm like, okay, cool, we did that. And then we start talking about prompt pulse. Now, okay, we've done that. What else can we do? And it's always a thing of conversation, but also just a thing of, I'm going to try something. I don't know how it'll go, but I'm looking forward to what it'll make. It might not work. It might just fail on the network and it might crash. But hey, I'm going to get it out there. And that's what I think I enjoy most about our conversations. We are always excited to try something, no matter how it may end up.
Yeah. And for me personally, the reason why I reached out to you to see if we could start working on these projects was because we have this AI technology, right? And it's coming largely from the States. I know China has also been investing a lot into the AI space, but I think with that, there comes like a language barrier, which makes it a little bit more difficult for us to adopt it in like places like South Africa, for example. But looking at what ChatGPT has done and OpenAI and the progress they've made, and then there's also these other language models out there. We've got Alpaca, we've got Claude AI, you know, there's all these different models. We've got Bard. So when I was looking at all these things that are available that are coming from the Western world, I was seeing that, understandably so, all of these tools are created with that Western user in mind, right? Yep. Which is great because like a lot of the world has progressed and a lot of the world is developing and moving towards that. But there are certain instances, especially in South Africa and Africa, where this technology doesn't quite apply to our context. So to give you an example, like language is a hurdle that needs to be overcome. Another one is access to devices. A lot of people in Africa don't have access to a laptop, so they mainly are engaging in the digital world using mobile devices. And also, I think the third one is education, right? Like all of these tools are coming into the forefront, and because we have large amounts of access to data through like Wi-Fi, we can go on YouTube and we can watch all these videos and learn about all these tools, and we're aware of what's happening. But a lot of people don't necessarily have that same kind of access. So not everyone knows about these tools or has the digital skills to use it, right? It's like something as base, like one thing that really shocked me when I went to university was in first year when you're doing your onboarding, all right? Or your, there's another word for it. What's the word for it? Orientation.
Yes.
Yeah. So first year you're doing your orientation, right? So I come from like a suburb, you know, like I had a good upbringing. I had access to computers and everything. So for me, like going onto Word or Excel or something like that, it's like second nature. It's like, now we know these things. It's basic. But then you go to varsity and then some people have never used a computer before. And
it's a shock.
Exactly. It is a shock. And that's one thing that's crazy about living in South Africa is I always say living in two different South Africas at the same time. Right now we're sitting in Sandton, the richest square mile in Africa. Go 5 minutes down the road, you'll start seeing goats and like people walking across the road and like informal settlements. And that's like right down the road. There's this duality that exists and it's quite insane. So a lot of us that live in this kind of first world version of South Africa, we don't realize the disconnect. There's actually a huge disconnect. And it's so important that like at JD Creations, our goal is to connect Africa to the digital economy in the world, to Africa. And the vision that we see that ourselves achieving through that is uplifting Africa in the global space, the point where we can reach a global superpower status. That's why we do what we do. In order for us to get there, it's going to be essential for us to close that gap.
For sure.
So I believe that there is a huge opportunity in the digital space for us to close that gap. But what we need to do is we need to make this technology accessible. Sure. And that's why I came to you, because I was like, okay, we're using ChatGPT, fine, good and well. I can afford to pay 500 Rand a month or whatever it is to get a premium subscription on ChatGPT. Because I've got a job and we're bringing in income and whatnot. Not everyone is able to afford that. So how do we bridge that gap? So that's where my thinking was like, okay, a lot of people have access to WhatsApp. They're using WhatsApp. They're familiar with it. So why not create a portal where people can take their knowledge from WhatsApp and use that to access a technology like ChatGPT? And that's where we came up with the idea for Bot. Was we said, No, what we're going to do is we're going to allow anyone who has access to WhatsApp to be able to access this AI. And just to make a use case out of it, we're going to add a layer in between that makes sure that all the results that you get from this AI are optimized towards someone who's an entrepreneur that wants to learn about business. So that's what we did. And I think we did a really good job at that. I must say, I was so impressed with the stuff that you did on that.
Yeah. For the thing is, it's one of those where it kind of seems it's a very nice idea, but when you actually start putting it together, you start kind of like, okay, you're like, yes, you can do it. Then you sit down, blank computer screen, you're like, how am I going to do this?
Where do you start?
And, it's in the process of, let me try this, let me try that. But the main important thing is having the end goal in mind, which helped a lot in the sense of no matter what bugs you're fighting, but also understanding that what you're trying to achieve is greater than you. So it always motivates you to just keep getting up, trying again, even if it fails or the message doesn't come through. But then that constant trying of like, okay, look, this is not for us per se, it's for people that don't have access to it. So we're trying to bridge the gap between them and us, or the other side of South Africa, so to speak, so that they have the opportunity to experience and use these tools, because I'm sure if they have access to it, it'll expand their perspective of what is possible and realize opportunities that they might not have known of. But because they have this tool, it might open their eyes to what is available and what is possible. So it was just one of those things of let's just keep trying and trying, because it's not only about us, it's for other people as well.
For sure. Yeah. And we want to uplift our continent, which is a huge goal. Hey, like we spoke about this in the previous podcast and our mission, just kind of outlining the vision for JD Creations in 2024. But that goal is a huge goal. And that's what, and like coming back to that topic of community, right? That's why it's so important that we have community, because to achieve that, it's not going to take one Josh and one Mpumelelo. It's going to take a huge amount of people and efforts to uplift this continent. So we want to be a rallying point to kind of make that happen. And I think it's important that we have these conversations or put this message out there, because it's an invitation to anyone listening to come and join us in whatever capacity they can. And we want to create opportunities for people. Like, one of the biggest problems that we have in our generation is youth unemployment. So with all of this technology, there's a plethora. Like the problem that we have right now is we don't know what opportunity to take, because there's so many different opportunities in front of us. 100%. Just when you understand the tools in your toolbox, you start to understand what you can create. Yes, sir. And you can create anything. Oh, 100%. So in a world where you can create anything, what do you create?
You end up being in this position where you don't know, you're just there. So many things are floating there. You're like, which do I grab at? But I think the most important thing is just impact. For me personally, it's just the thing of, I want to create things that can help people be in a better situation than they currently are. So if there's any way I can do that through my skills or me helping someone, so I'll be gladly able to do that and happy to do that. And I think if we can get that kind of motivational perspective to really help others and to use what we have available to help others in whatever way we can, I think South Africa will be a lot better for it, and the continent as a whole.
I agree with you. And there's like two things that you mentioned now. You mentioned when you start creating these tools, you start with a blank screen, and you need to kind of fail, yes, and then learn from that, and then fail again, and then every time you learn something new, and that's how you that's your method in terms of building these projects. 100%. And for me, that's perseverance, right? That's not giving up and keeping on going. Yeah. That's the one thing that I get from what you're saying. The other thing that I get from what you're saying is what's important to you is impact. And for me, like translating it back to my perspective, like for me, that's legacy. We only have a finite amount of time on this earth, and we don't know how long that is, which is crazy to think about. But what we do know is that the impact that you have on this earth during your time here can live beyond you. If I'm able to give someone an opportunity, and they're able to take that, they can use that as a platform to progress themselves, which can lead to endless possibilities and endless opportunities. So that thing of legacy, I think, is also important. I wanted to ask you, Mpumi, where did you learn this concept of persistence and legacy?
For persistence, for one, I would say it came from the concept, or during my studies, for one. The thing is, when creating software or developing, it's always expected there will be a bug in your code. No matter how amazing as a software developer you are, there will be something that does not go according to plan.
There will be a semicolon.
For sure, there will be something missing. So no matter how much experience you've had or whatever you've done before, there will always be something that will go wrong, whether you expect it or you don't. So it is in that process of, and that understanding of knowing, look, something will not go the way I planned, but if I take the time, I can figure it out. Ever since you kind of start getting that motion of, hey, this is not running. Let me go take a walk, come back, and then all of a sudden you figure it out. Let me take a break and come back, you figure it out. So with that, after getting that motion long enough, it kind of starts bleeding into the rest of what you do. Yeah, like you try to go for a job, it does not work, cool. You try to get a business deal, it does not work, cool, next one. And that just keeps building and building. And in terms of legacy and impact, there's a quote which I hope I'm getting it right, which says, the power of a society is in the ability of people to plant seeds that they will never get to experience the shade of the tree, or something like that. I really hope I'm getting it right. But it's just important in the sense of, we must always look to have an impact that will exceed us. Our lives are not going to be here forever. So it's better to have an impact that outlives us. Because if you can help a child get into school or create something or start a business, and he goes on to live a successful life with a family and everything, you've done your part. If you can get someone to go to school, help a child pass their matric or something, small things like that, you might think of them as insignificant, like buying someone a pair of shoes. A school child does not have shoes. It's just small things like that that can exceed your lifespan or your life. But if you can impact the generations ahead of you, then South Africa as a whole, as a continent, will be better off for it, because now we're not just living for ourselves, but we're living for the next generation. If we can keep building for the next one, and they stand on our shoulders, and the next generation can stand on the next generation's shoulders, it starts creating this rolling avalanche of growth and feeding the next generation, where, who knows, in the next few generations, South Africa, or Africa as a whole, will be the giant that it should be. Not that where it is now, but the giant that it should be. And I think if we just keep feeding to the next generation what we know and what we've learned, we'll be able to unlock that potential.
Bro, let me just take a moment now to just kind of affirm that you've already done what you're talking about. And it's through the projects that we worked in, like I've seen the impact, the stuff that we've done through Value Ed. If you listen to some of the testimonials on the website there, you'll hear the impact that that's had on people's lives. Someone that comes to mind is also a part of the creator community is Zintle, right? Zintle started off in Value Ed, unemployed, just like, I think she was still in varsity when she had joined. And through the platform, she managed to learn skills that helped her with her job interviews, helped her with the job applications. 100%. And through that, she managed to find a job. That wouldn't have been possible without the work that you've done with Value Ed. And I think that's what I love about working with certain startups, especially like online learning, right? Is with these startups, you see the impact that it has. But there's also the other side of it, right? Because that's the nice and good side. To get to that impact is hard. Like, you have to go through so many different hurdles and challenges as a startup. What are some of the challenges and hurdles that you've seen working with startups and working in that space?
It's very, how do I say it? It's very nice to say you're starting on something, but the behind the scenes of when things are not working, when things are not working, your system is, your website is down, your platform is not working, there's bugs, people are sending you messages saying it's not working. That process of actually getting it up is like rolling a stone up a hill. You're trying to roll it up, but your momentum is pushing you back, and you can't. It's just that process of, it's gonna be hard, but it's that challenge of when you're pushing it up, you're getting muscles in yourself, and you're like, okay, cool, I am going to learn through this process. So I think as much as startups getting it up the hill, especially in the South African context right now, it's not the same as the West, where startups are just flaunting money at them, well, like they used to before the economy. But I think South Africa is getting to that point, and it just takes people willing to take the risk and just to be like, you know what, look, I want to do something and actually make a change and actually start something which it might not do anything for a while, but if I keep persisting, sooner or later it will happen, and it will be what I want it to be, where it can impact the way I want to. So Yeah, startups, it's a very challenging, but I feel like it's a very rewarding process.
And I must say, I think we're kind of in that phase with Prompt Pulse. You know, we started off with nothing, and now we've built an MVP around it to kind of prove the concepts. I think the next step beyond that is now getting people to pay for it, right? And once we're able to do that, then that's kind of a confirmation that, you know what, this actually really offers value to people.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're working on now. But we keep referring to this Treblebot Prompt Pulse stuff that we're working on. What exactly is Prompt Pulse from the technical perspective?
So Prompt Pulse is basically, just to kind of simplify it, the main challenge many people have with using AI is the challenge of training it and what exactly is a prompt. Now, prompting is how you tell it to do what you need it to do. And for people who don't really know, it might just seem like, hey, do this and it works. But there's almost like an art to it. It's almost like training or raising a child.
One thing that I've noticed when it comes to prompt engineering and creating prompts, and when we're referring to prompts, we're basically referring to the instructions that you give to the AI, right?
Yeah.
So someone like me, right? I've had time to work with a team. I've had the opportunity and experience to lead a team from a long time back. So I've had the opportunity to practice my communication skills to the point where I can give instructions that are clear, concise, and that makes sense. Not everyone's had that opportunity.
Sure.
So I think what I've noticed when it comes to prompting is, in order to get the best possible results from AI, it's directly proportionate to your ability to communicate. Now, not everyone, and this is where we're talking about that discrepancy of the West versus here, right? Not everyone has English as their first language. Not everyone has had the opportunity to complete schooling, right? So now if you aren't able to communicate in this way that the application requires you to communicate in order to get good results, you're kind of shut out from a huge opportunity of using the technology.
For sure.
Is that what you're kind of referring to there?
Yes, in a way, just to kind of give you a summarized version of it in a way. And the main goal of Prompt Pulse was just to allow people to make use of AI without needing to know how to train a model, how to use a prompt, how to create the right prompt. We just wanted to streamline everything so that when you come on the platform and let's you need to write an email, you need to write a post, or you need to do something else, whichever of the tools you use, we wanted to make it as simple as possible for you to use it without you needing to know all the theory of trying to create a prompt. We'll do that on your behalf, but we just help you. We kind of hold your hand and walk you along the process so that you get what you need at the end. So you never have to worry about, hey, did I tell it the right things? Is the prompt going to work? We do the work for you. So you just give us the basic information and we create it for you so that you never have to worry about, is this the best prompt or whatever? We'll do that for you. So you just come on into the basic details and we do it for you.
And I think that's such a powerful concept. What makes it even more powerful is when you start exploring the ideas of applying it in specific domains of expertise. So to give you an example, right? You might be a lawyer who is really good at your job when it comes to creating leases, right? And when it comes to creating leases, you might need to sit down with someone for, let's say, an hour to determine their context of their situation. So the address of the apartment that they're leasing, certain things that they want to include in the lease that's important to them. You know, there's certain things that you need to extract from that person in order to draw up a lease that's specialized or customized to their needs, right? So let's say you do that, you spend 30 minutes extracting that information from them as a lawyer, and then you spend another 30 minutes writing up the lease specific to their context. So that in that hour, you're able to basically service one person. And now as a lawyer, you spent a lot of time studying, you spent a lot of money on your degree, and there's not many people out there who can do what you do. So you charge 1,000 Rand for that hour, let's say. So now, what we're saying with Prompt Pulse is we're saying, okay, you're good at the law stuff. That's your domain of expertise. Why don't you work with us, the people who are good at prompting and training AI? And let's train an AI who can write the lease for you. What we can then do is we can create a form that goes on your website, which the customer can fill in with their context. we can automatically generate that lease for you based on your standards and your methodologies of creating that lease. And then we can maybe ask 5 to 10 minutes of your time just to sign off on the lease and make sure that it's correct for that person. Now, let's say that let's say it takes 10 minutes for you to, as a lawyer, to go through that application that the person had put through on that form on the website that I mentioned. You're going to be able to service 6 times the amounts of people as you would be able to do servicing one person. So you've increased your capacity. Because you're able to service 6 people, that means you're able to make 6 times the money. Let's say, for the sake of our vision to uplift Africa, right? Let's say you make 4 times the money, right? That means that you're able to lower the cost of your service as well, which makes your service more accessible to more people. So now more people are actually able to access the services of a lawyer, which helps them grow their businesses, which helps them lease out their apartments or make it easier, whatever the purpose is, right? So that creates what we call a butterfly effect, which can uplift large amounts of people and have impact. That's just an example of one domain of expertise. That's just the law space. This same concept can be applied in any domain of expertise. So that's kind of what we've built with Prompt Pulse and what we're kind of wanting to share with the world. But it's going to take, like we said, it's going to take people coming on the journey with us. And that's why we're doing this podcast today, because we want to share what it is that we're doing. We want to invite people to come on that journey. So Mpumi, we've spoken a little bit about what we've done. Actually, let's talk a little bit more about what we've done before we move on to what's next. With Prompt Pulse, as it exists, with our MVP, could you maybe just like run us through the MVP and how it works right now, and maybe go from that and segue it into where we want to go going forward?
Okay, cool. So currently on Prompt Pulse, we have like a few tools or prompts available for people that they can kind of try out. We currently have an email writer, we have a podcast planner, we have some
my favorite one is the bias remover.
That one was such an unexpected one that you brought up. I'm like, remover, okay, bro.
It's important. Like a lot of the stuff that we read online is like written with an agenda. Like we don't realize that. So, and then try the bias remover, plug it in there, and then you're going to realize, crap. Like
I just saw it. I'm like, okay, he put it there. He has a reason for it, but I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, the main concept of what we have now is just to kind of allow people basic tools right now, but obviously in future we want to expand it so that now when you have it on, we can plug it into multiple websites so that people can actually use it for their information or their domains of expertise, so that now you can start using it on let's say it was a lawyer's platform, or for someone could use it on an e-commerce platform, multiple platforms where you can start using these tools and these prompts, so that now you start creating an economy where people can use these tools to do amazing things with it. So that's where we currently are now, but we are looking forward to kind of tweak and pivot things a little bit so that we can start offering services to more people, and also to expand the offerings that we have of tools and prompts. So be on the lookout. There's a lot of things that's going to be coming out. We might change a lot of things, but hey, if you join us on the journey, we're looking forward to bring you along with us.
Yeah, and what's great about being a part of it now is like we're looking at creating custom tools for those different experts in those different domains, right? So we have the capability, and we've have that track record, and that's going back to the beginning when we were talking about building the plane while flying it. Like that's how we work. We build the plane while we're flying it. So if you want to build something and you want to explore that, please, like we are open to working with you and overcoming the challenges that come along the way.
Yes, sir.
On a more like personal level, how does this tie into your kind of overall personal goals this year? And maybe it doesn't even need to be for just this year, but maybe in the next 5-10 years. Where do you see yourself going in that period of time?
For me personally, I just want to be a person who's always involved in projects that make an impact, whether it be small or large scale, but also doing it in the field of technology, because technology has changed my life, and I really feel if we can expose more people to the possibilities with tech, it'll truly make a difference. So organizations like your Geek Culture, Teach Girl Code, there's so many organizations I could think of, and they're expanding people's possibilities with tech by showing them what's possible. So being involved in such organizations or creating such an impact similar to them would be something I'd be gladly to do. And just in as a future thing, just want to be involved in as many projects as I can where I create an impact and change people's lives. So yeah, whichever platform that might be on, who knows? But hey, we'll see. But yeah.
That's exciting. I'm so honored to be a part of that journey that you're on. And you have put a lot of your time and energy into my journey as well. So I appreciate a lot of the stuff that you've worked on and that you've taught me along the way as well. What, with this future forward focus that you have just mentioned now, what do you see in the tech space now that is presenting opportunities to succeed going forward? So like what kind of tools and technology have come up now that you think is going to be instrumental in achieving that vision that you just mentioned?
Wow, that's actually a really question. Good one though. I really feel there's a lot of these low code, no code builders, which I feel have almost lowered the barrier into tech in a way. But I feel they have been very useful in the sense of it allows people to get their ideas out a lot faster, which I feel when people are confident enough to get their ideas out there, it starts creating a snowball effect where everyone will start thinking of ideas of things they can create. And it is in the creative process where people start creating things for others and that they can, hey, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. That's when you can really start creating an impact in your country as a whole or as a continent. Because when you get people excited to think of things and create things, now they start wanting to change the status quo. Because now they're no longer thinking about, oh, that's just how things were. They're like, okay, no, maybe we can do this, maybe we can create this. It is in that process where people have conversations like we're having now in communities and stuff like that. When people start seeing that, then they're like, okay, cool, let's see what we can do with tech. And also with AI as well, many people are kind of scared. They're like, hey, it'll be the Terminator, it'll take over the world. But that comes with intention. Obviously, the human condition, there's always going to be a few bad apples. But I feel if we use AI in the right way with the right intentions, we truly can make an impact. Because then people start using for the right things and they can reduce time to do certain tasks and they can learn to do new things in less time, which will improve society as a whole. Because now things that used to be foreign, like learning how to code, they could ask ChatGPT, hey, how do I create a basic project in this language? Now you don't have to go to a library to get the book. Now you can just research it. But now with all these new platforms coming up, if we can start using them all together, you'll truly be able to see the amazing things people can create. So I'm really excited to the tech landscape. A lot of things will change, but hey, us as humans and devs involved in tech will change as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And that's, you mentioned a few different elements there. The one is creativity, the other one is tech, and then I think the third one is kind of problems. If you can find where these things overlap, that's where the impact lies.
Yes, sir.
Because what's happening with technology is lowering the barrier, whether it be access to information, or whether it be ability to create certain tools and to do things. Technology is lowering our barrier to get things done and to access information. Now, once you are in this candy store of possibilities, the next question becomes, what do you do? And that's where the creativity comes in, because you need to be creative in your approach. You need to find a problem and then you access or input your creativity to determine how to solve that problem. And I think that's where the overlap comes. And I think what we're going to be seeing in the next 5-10 years is this intersection between creativity and technology.
Sure.
I actually read a report the other day and they used the word create-tech. So I think that's something we're going to be seeing in the next few years. But yeah, I'm super excited to explore this journey with you, Mpumelelo.
Definitely.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to do a quick fire round. Are you ready?
Okay, cool. No easy questions, please. Not trying to get cancelled.
All right, here we go. First question. One coding language you wish you learned earlier?
Damn, that's a hard one. Oh, damn. Okay, I would say, okay, React. Or
React.
JavaScript a bit more, yes.
Okay. AI technology you're most excited about?
Damn, Damn, you're putting me on the spot. There's so many I can't choose. Wow, my heart hurts about this. Wow.
Pulse.
I can't be biased. That's my own thing.
Okay, unbiased opinion.
Yeah, unbiased opinion. But the one thing that I'm most looking forward to is the open source AI models. Because yes, there's ChatGPT, OpenAI and that, but now you're seeing a lot more open source AI models, which it almost puts them on it creates this battlefield where now, as much as OpenAI and ChatGPT might be leading the way, they know that there's other models out there. So if they are not up to standard and they kind of don't keep the end user in mind, there's other ways people can go. So it creates this like
competition.
Exactly. This economy where people now can use other models, which they are not the de facto, which I think is a great thing, because now if there's multiple options, you'll truly see the value and the best ones to use. Yeah.
Cool. Favorite African innovation?
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I love how like open-ended these questions are.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it could be anything.
Oh, for sure. One kind of aspect that I have been kind of seeing a lot is the African fintech space. You're seeing a lot of startups. I think that's the saying. There's one there. There's another one. What's the name? I'm really sorry. I'll try to tag them in the video. I'll try to put them in the video as well. You can check them out as well. There's also Spaza Eats, which is like, it's not necessarily a tech platform, but it's just something which I thought was really interesting.
Alright, so Mpumi said he's going to meet you all in the comments, so you can find the answer to that question there. Okay, last one. One non-tech hobby that influences your tech work.
Basketball for sure. It kind of persists with the persistence, in the sense of you can't focus on the mistakes that you've made. You just have to focus on the next possession. You made a mistake, you forget about it. Same with coding and tech and business and life as well. And also it works on teamwork, because you are not the only person who have the ball. You have to share the ball and put yourselves in positions for the team to succeed. And lastly, as long as there's still time on the clock, there's still something you can do. As long as you're still alive, there's still a difference you can make. So no matter how old you are, whether you're 13, 50, 80, there's still a difference you can make. As long as you're still breathing, you can make a change in the world. So until the clock is up, keep making a change. But yeah.
On that note, Mpumelelo, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the C.Cast.
It's been fun to be a man.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you would like to join our community, please link with us on WhatsApp. You can scan the QR code and join the WhatsApp group. We would also like to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please share this with a friend. If you know someone that might stand to gain something from this episode, please do share it with them and join the community. We hope to have you on the podcast at some point as well. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Peace.